Welcome to the WeAre podcast, a podcast and community empowering Black, Latino, API, and Indigenous people to excel, build wealth in the industries of tech and sustainability. As you know, we're not just a podcast. We have an online community, your safe place to connect with other people like you. If you haven't done so yet, please join for free at weare.online. We have exclusive content and events for members only, so you can join and so don't miss out. Today's interview is with Raina Washington. With over 2 decades of experience in financial services industry, Raina's experience spans information system strategy, change management, and innovation. Her leadership has enhanced operational efficiency and fostered a culture of continuous improvement and agility with her teams. Hi, Raina. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Love it. Love it. Tell me, I'd love for the audience, tell us a little bit about yourself and like your background and where you grew up.
Yes. So I'm Raina Washington. I have been in information systems and finance transformation operations for the past, well, it's kind of morphed. So maybe the past 5 years, but I've been in finance for a few decades. It's I'm surprised to like that it's been this long, but the time flies. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, North
I
Carolina.
grew up in the Bay Area.
Oh, yeah.
Born in San Francisco, raised in Oakland. Got my first job at Wells as a teller.
Okay.
And I kind of just like morphed my career path from there. So yeah, so I've been here in Charlotte about 7, 8 years, and kind of just kept moving forward with my love for finance and information systems.
Love that. Love that. So, with your continuation in finance, what are you doing now?
Yeah, so right now my career kind of morphed from being more of a report developer with a web-based reporting tool to kind of transitioning to learning more about Microsoft Power BI. And with that, we had more of a demand. We had more delivery team members, and that also transitioned my role from a developer to being a product owner.
Oh,
Yes, so
interesting.
I've
So
got
you mentioned team members. Like, so how many people are you actually like managing right now?
Yeah, so I've got 2 tech teams and
Mhm.
I've got 1 business team. And so I would say maybe about 24,
Ooh,
25 team members that I'm kind of helping, prioritize work, getting things done, working on infrastructure things to pretty much automate and transform the reporting infrastructure that for my particular group.
love that. I mean, 20 people. That sounds like a lot of people. I mean, for those out there trying to manage more than 3 people. I mean, what are some tips that you can give out on managing a team that big?
Yeah. So I think what helps for me is that we are on an agile scrum framework for change
Ah,
management. So being that this format is you have a tool where you're able to manage work, prioritize work, stand things up, create like a map of whatever you want to plan for like a quarterly scope, a year in scope. So having a tool to help manage really helps. And then also having good people that
yeah.
you can trust and that you can depend on and that
Mhm.
trust you. So if there's any issues, you know that they're comfortable with coming to you to help work through any issues. So I think that we have fostered a pretty good relationship,
Mhm.
just when it comes to that comfort. And I think it kind of flows with when it comes to the whole technical side and getting things done around the work.
Love that. I love that. So, I mean, speaking of hiring, I mean, so you have to actually find the right people. What are some qualities that you look for that you knew or you know that will probably be a perfect match to work under your
Yeah,
leadership?
so that's a good question because we have interviewed to find like really strong
Yeah.
technical developers. So the first thing is communication. Like we have to understand that they are able to talk through the type of work that they've done on a technical speak and then also on the business side. So, there are times where, it's great that, you have, all this technical expertise, but if you can't talk to stakeholders in a way that they understand you or work with them to kind of like refine any kind of requirements, you have to kind of be able to wear multiple hats. So I
Mhm.
think it doesn't take just having a strong technical background. having strong communication skills and being able to wear different hats to communicate with different types of people is very important.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so let's kind of take up a general day. Like what does a typical day look like for an IT transformation leader?
Yeah, so we have this type of structure where we meet daily. It's like really quick, 15 minutes. Hey, let's go over what everyone's working on. Where are you? Are there any impediments? Are there any kind of questions we need to raise with any stakeholders to work things through? So we have like a kind of like quick dive into what everyone's working on. And if there is
Nice.
anything pending, we might set up like a follow-up meeting or maybe like a working session because someone ran into an issue and we've got to
Mhm,
figure out how we're going to work through this problem. And then also because I have a technical team and a business team, there are a lot of times
mhm,
where it's like, okay, I've got someone on my business side that might be able to help kind of work with one of the technical guys to kind of work through things. So a lot of collaboration, partnering, meeting with stakeholders
mhm.
because part of our role in our group is to help with finance automation, reporting automation. So a big piece
Okay.
is going out there, having phone calls with stakeholders and going through their manual process, walk through it, and then kind of looking at their picture to determine
Mhm.
what's the best route to automate and streamline their process. So that's kind of like a surface level day to day
Got it.
thing.
Got it. So
Yeah.
like IT, like a typical ID is almost like a typical like engineering almost because you say you do like the scrums and then the stand-ups and stuff like that. So it's like
Mhm.
it's pretty similar there. So I want to go jump into like the WeAre platform. I'm curious, like what made you join the WeAre online platform?
A friend told me
Hmm.
about it, and well, for one thing, I love that the nod to Wired, to
Oh,
Wired
yeah.
magazine, because growing up, that was my. I did not subscribe to a lot of magazines, but that was
Uh-huh.
one magazine that I faithfully subscribed to. I even in my
Ah.
closet, I still have like my favorite issues that I
Mhm.
just cannot throw out. But just seeing that there was a community of like-minded people in one kind of forum, seeing what everyone's doing in a way to connect. And I
Mhm.
like that it has the format where you're able to kind of like check in a casual way.
Yeah.
So,
Love that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, love it. So I'm curious to see, like, I mean, what do you see we are being able to do for the Black, Latino, API, Indigenous people?
Yeah, so I think that having sessions like this,
Mhm,
if there's someone that's interested in a certain field, clicking on that video, listening, learning how maybe someone got to where they are, any kind of tips and
mhm.
tricks that they can take home with them, and then hopefully maybe like networking. So, like,
Yeah.
if they have any questions based on this conversation, are they able to type that question in and then someone here can either respond back, something like that, almost like a communications board. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that would be pretty neat.
Yeah, we definitely want to connect a bunch of smart people together, have an open, safe place for us. So, I mean, if someone wanted to change their financial future, why should they look at a career within tech?
I think that it's not going anywhere. And I understand that, AI is the big thing right now. We're even talking
Ooh.
about AI in our space now,
Oh, okay.
very beginning phases, but I think that as long as we adapt and adjust to that, they're always going to need smart people in the room that can think outside the box, something that computers can always do. We're the
Hmm.
creators essentially. So I think that, and also there's so many different areas. Like,
Hmm.
you say IT, but I'm kind of more on the information system side. So I'm not
Ah, okay,
really,
okay.
like, yes, I'm dealing with data, but I'm not really kind of coding per se,
Yeah, yeah.
hardware systems or something like that. So I just think that the types of areas that you can get in is pretty vast.
And I'm curious, like, where do you see AI kind of coming in within your field right now? Like, where do you see, like, kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm curious.
Yep. So a big part of the automations that we do is management reporting automation. So these are financial reports that financial consultants and finance managers are kind of delivering to executives, and some, delivering regulatory. But where we will be able to use it in our space is like, hey, yeah, we've created this report. Let's like put a different layer of AI, ask some questions based on this report. What kind of analysis can we apply to this that it can give
Mm.
us by looking at this report versus someone looking at it? So I
Mhm.
think maybe having an AI analyze or maybe give us different visualizations based on the reporting would be kind of the next thing that will be coming.
I love it. I mean, I feel like AI can save so much time, right? For someone to do,
Yeah.
someone's gonna do that manually. It would take a few days, wouldn't it?
And that's the thing. That's the thing. People are out there manually, just like eyeballing things, adding commentary, reviewing line by line by line. But if
Mhm.
we have AI that's able to scrub and scan instantaneously, definitely will save a whole lot of time. And it's, becoming more efficient. So I think that is the big thing when you hear about teams, working on automation and trying to transform because we're trying to find more efficient ways to
Mhm.
do the job.
Love it. All right. So great leaders like yourself have daily habits. I'm curious of like what kind of daily habits has led for your success in leading IT and finance transformation.
I like to take notes. So
Oh,
I
okay.
use OneNote.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where I brainstorm. That's where I take all of my notes. That's where I kind of like jot down ideas. And it's also where I organize the different things, different activities that are happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then also, I kind of use for things that I want to learn. So, like, for instance, Power BI, if there are some new
Yeah.
functions that I kind of don't want to forget, like I have, a page where I don't want to like forget like different tricks and tips
Mhm.
and things like that. So I'm a big notes person, and I think staying organized in some way, it could be through Outlook. You could be
Mhm.
creating different tasks in Outlook or different folders, but for me, I love OneNote with organization and keeping me
Love
kind of on
it.
target.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so that's a habit that you've been doing, taking notes, and you love doing that. Is there one habit that you had to develop, to get you where you're at right now? Like, was there something that
Let's
you had
see.
to practice on?
Mhm.
Sometimes people are not great speakers, so they take public speaking classes. I mean, was there
Oh,
anything that you had to
yeah.
work on?
So when it comes to that, I actually did take Toastmasters
Oh, yes, I
for
love
about a
Toastmasters.
year,
Uh,
and that definitely helped because public speaking is hard.
yeah,
you know,
yes.
Even if it's with people that you know or people that you work with, finding your voice. And I think when
Hmm.
I was not as experienced, that was a challenge for me. And it was a challenge for me to ask questions where I felt like
Oh,
I wasn't the smartest one on the call.
yeah.
And I think I've kind of learned that it's okay
Yep,
and
yep.
just not be afraid. So I think the experience warrants confidence, and sometimes it just takes time to practice.
Yes,
So
practice.
yeah, that's a big thing. So I would say, like if you want to try to work on that when you're on a
Mhm.
Teams call, and maybe you're not the most experienced, you know what? Try to ask one question every meeting. Start with that. Start
Ooh,
with, something that can, step out of your comfort zone. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
yeah.
Otherwise, how will you grow?
Yes, yes. I like something called fear setting. You kind of conquer your fears by
Yeah.
instead of a goal setting, do some fear setting. You can get a lot more done when you try to conquer your fears there.
Yeah.
Love it.
I like that. I like
Love it.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So let's get into some like finding inefficiencies for some of these leaders. What are some tips that you have to share for leaders to identify some inefficiencies to drive meaningful change?
I would say when you're analyzing a process, how many people are touching this process? How many hops are happening? Are we going from like email to like an Excel doc? And then is that
Mhm.
being manipulated? And then we're emailing again, like finding out how many hops are happening. And
Mhm.
then I like to work through, I like to have someone demo, like, what are they doing from point A to Z? and then
Yeah.
think, okay, what can we eliminate? How can we get to the system of record to connect to that directly? And
Mhm.
just making sure that we can reduce how many fingers are touching whatever is being involved in that
Ah.
process.
I love that recording video, just so you can actually see what they're actually almost you're almost like optimizing a whole SOP, right? Because you're seeing what every step they're doing. It's like, you know what, let's cut this out. And yeah, I love
Yeah,
that. Okay,
yeah,
okay, okay.
and the thing is, a lot of times users, they inherit processes sometimes. They don't
Yeah.
really understand, like, what the back end is doing
Mhm.
or, what an alternate way of doing it is. So that's why it's sometimes important to get not only that person, but someone that is more behind, that group or that origination of data, just to kind of make sure that we ask the right questions to the right people to
Mhm.
automate as best as possible.
Yes, yes. You also spoke about like tools that you use, like other things where like I'm curious, like so what routines ensure a smooth and effective rollout when implementing new tools?
Lots and lots of testing. So
Ah.
we start off, of course, by developing in a lower environments.
Mhm.
Sometimes it takes more than one person to work on a certain tool, to get it developed. And then once we have it kind of tested through peers, we will
Mhm.
deploy it to maybe like a UAT environment. And then we'll make sure that we have SMEs, subject matter experts,
Yep.
to take a look at the preliminary tool. And that's where we spend the most time of it in
Mhm.
UAT, because a lot of times users will say, well, hey, I'm not able to fully connect this way, or the data that I need, it's not coming in the way I expect. It doesn't match what I have in production to this other tool that we're
Mhm.
trying to replace. So that's when, you kind of go back to the sandbox and you're redeveloping and you're working hand in hand to make sure that you meet all of the requirements to make sure that the data is right. So lots of work in the UAT environment. And
Mhm.
then from there, there's you've got to think about like security,
Oh
who
yeah.
should have access to this, who should see this data. So working through all of that, any kind of like calculations, are we making
Mhm.
sure that this is all forming properly? Are we making sure there's not too many things that are hard coded? So if there are anything that changes, there's variables to catch it and to kind of keep it moving to where it doesn't break in the process. So from there, and I'm speaking very high level, like there's a lot more
Mhm.
nitty gritty things that kind of happen,
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
level. But once it is ready, all of the UAT, we have to get sign off from multiple sources, the business owner, the technology owner,
Mhm.
peers within the group that have checked and triple checked the tool. And then from there, we will deploy to production and then
Mhm.
do a post testing, making
Got it.
sure that everything is right and making sure that the timeliness, the performance, and all of that is it's what's expected. So super high level. It's like it might for us. It depending on what it is. I mean, it could take at least a year
Oh,
to
okay.
successfully roll out something, depending on how complex it
Got
is.
it. Got it. But for those that don't know what a UAT is, can you explain what UAT stands for?
Yeah, user acceptance testing. And so
There we
that's a
go.
different environment that you have where you're able to test what's been
Okay.
developed and work with the business user or the requester or whomever will be the participant and the user of said tool to be able to get a first look, really try to break it. We tell them,
Mhm.
try to break it.
Oh,
And
love that.
and if they can, then that means we have more work to do.
Got
So
it.
and then so when you think about any kind of implementation, there's three environments. Well, actually, there's more than three environments, but it depends on what your process is. But we typically do a dev environment, development,
Mhm.
UAT for testing, and then production, which is the final environment. But there are also environments where we might just have like a sandbox environment where we kind of like play around in it before we actually get it into one of the three environments. So
Got it.
but the
Got it.
three
Got it.
are typically what you would see in a change management process or an
Love
escalation
it.
process. Yeah.
All right, all right. So when it comes to change, there's always going to be some pushback, right? Some people are scared to change. I mean, what would you recommend for managing resistance when it comes to digital transformation?
Oh gosh, it's almost like you have to sell it. You have
Uh,
to highlight what are the good things about this? How is this going to make your life easier?
hmm,
And I think when they see it, sometimes people like to see and touch and feel, what it looks
hmm,
like. And sometimes it makes it a little bit easier, especially if you like say, hey, I want you to help us with testing. So knowing that they'll get a first dibs and kind of first hands on being able to utilize it and give their feedback, I think sometimes that helps. But change is hard for
yeah.
people, and you just really have to give them grace sometimes and be patient and then be willing to handhold a little bit,
Hmm,
because sometimes they may not do the due diligence to learn as they
got it.
should. So just kind of be flexible and be open and patient with the folks that are receiving the change.
So when it comes to change, people are scared of making mistakes. I'm curious, what's the biggest mistake leaders make due to poor habits and process improvement?
Sometimes not fully embracing the change.
Mm.
So
Oh,
there might be
oh,
times
oh.
where, there's a new tool rolled out to replace something that's manual, but they're not really enforcing, having the team start using this new thing. And hey, and if I'm a finance consultant and I like doing my everyday routine, my, spreadsheet, my manual way, this is what I'm comfortable doing, I'm going to keep doing it
Yeah, yeah.
unless a leader enforces it. So I think that the leaders have to get behind the change and show that, this is it, this is where we're going, and kind of give incentive to doing that. That
Mhm.
helps with change.
Got it. If you could instill like one career defining skill, or again, or even habit in aspiring transformer leaders, what would that be?
One skill. Oh,
Yeah.
one. That's hard.
Okay, you can
I
do
would,
two.
yeah,
If we
okay.
do it.
So for me and my experience, I
Mhm.
would say raising your hand and being
Yeah.
comfortable raising your
Okay.
hand with trying things that you don't know. So, how would I describe that as a skill? Being learned, I guess,
Hmm. Hmm.
and diving in, not being
Taking
afraid to
risk.
dive in. What was that?
Would you say taking risk? They would want
Taking
to like a
risk.
risk taker.
Thank you.
There we
Risk
go.
taker. There we
Love it.
go. Risk taker, you have to jump out there
Yeah.
and raise your hand if someone says, hey, we've got this kind of on the pipeline. Who would like to take a look? Because if you
Mhm.
raise your hand, like they'll know, oh, this person, I think I can count on because, they're comfortable doing it and they're not afraid to take a
Mhm.
chance and they're not afraid to learn something new. So definitely being a risk taker would be
Love it.
my number
Love it. Okay. 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 So, what would you say to someone who feels like they don't belong because of their background or ethnicity?
I would say that there's a space for everyone. Like, yes, someone might look different from you, but
Mhm.
we all have intricate stories. We all have different
Yes.
backgrounds. We all, kind of have something unique about us. And if you were to be on, say, a Teams call and no one showed their faces, you didn't see their
Hmm.
names, I don't think that there's that much different when it comes to being a performer and being skilled
Yeah.
and developing and getting things done. So I would tell that person to kind of shake out of that feeling because, yes, you might look different, but there's nothing that I would say would make you feel or should you feel inferior
Hmm.
to someone else that's in the room because you're there for a
Yes.
reason.
Yes. Yes. Love it. Okay. Love it. If someone is struggling with a major setback, what's kind of the first thing you tell them to kind of change their mindset?
I would say if they have a major setback, find someone in that group where they
Hmm.
feel comfortable with expressing that to. Because I think that you'll be surprised how supportive either colleagues or management can be, especially if you're bringing a concern. That means that you care. And that means
Yes.
that you want to get better. That means you want to improve. And that person that you would go to, I think that they would feel elated to help because
Mhm.
they see how strongly you feel and they see how you want to improve. So
Yes, yes, love it, love it. Okay, for this episode to feel complete for you, any last pieces of advice, and how can people get a hold of you?
so I am reachable through LinkedIn. Rain, I think you should be able to search Raina Washington. There's not that many Raina Washingtons out there.
Okay, okay.
But any last piece of advice, I would say network, talk to
Mhm.
people that are in professions that you might aspire to, make those connections, and yeah, just be comfortable with getting uncomfortable.
Ooh, love it, love it. Thank you, Raina, for a great
Yes.
interview, and I hope to see you soon.